Welcome to the channel, everyone. I hope everyone enjoys listening to the story. Suddenly, the world changed, dungeons appeared all over the place, and the dungeons were linked with energy vortexes. Whenever an energy vortex appeared, it drew a large number of monsters out. They are cold-blooded animals that always hunt humans. However, since that day, people have begun to awaken strange energies, allowing them to fight with natural elements and have extraordinary strength. These people are known as hunters. Mr. Sung is an E-rank hunter, but unlike other hunters, he possesses the weakest strength. With a thin body, he is only rated as a hunter with slightly more strength than ordinary people, so he is destined to be the world's weakest man. A dangerous level D energy vortex has appeared at a construction site, and D-rank hunters have all gathered to hunt and kill monsters. Mr. Sung also came to join. On this trip Mr. Kim was a C-rank hunter who stood up as captain because his strength was the greatest. Everyone agreed, and after a while discussing the battle plan, the monster hunt officially began. In the dungeon, their group fought a lot of E-rank monsters. After a while, a boss with D-level strength appeared, and they defeated him with the help of Mr. Kim. After killing the monster, you'll be lucky to find a magic stone, which has been graded from E to SSS and can sell for a very high price. So hunters are always looking for this kind of thing in dungeons in order to change their current lives. Suddenly, a few people discovered another door. They assumed it was a double dungeon because it was impossible to probe the energy level in it, so the team had no idea how big this dungeon was, so Mr. Kim asked everyone to vote on whether to continue or not. Many people left, but 17 members eventually agreed to stay. After about 10 minutes of walking, the team came across a massive gate. Many people were surprised, and some members were scared, but after Mr. Kim reassured them, everyone continued to enter behind the door. Behind the door, a large sky appeared, torches with blue flames appeared, and they saw many large statues that appeared very strange, particularly one sitting in the middle of the hall. After some research, the team determined that this was the Karthanon temple. They did not find a monster after exploring the temple for a while, except for the strange steps and a statue of a masked angel with a strange rule table. Mrs. Juhi suddenly felt that someone was looking in her direction, so she told everyone to listen. After Mrs. Juhi's words, the big door suddenly closed, and everyone was terrified to the extreme, but there was a fool who walked towards the door to open it and get out, but his head was thrown out with a bang, and everyone was too scared to say anything when they saw it. One warrior stepped forward and slashed the idiot. Began to notice the dungeon's common sense. When Mr. Sung turned around to look at the biggest statue, he was right, but Mrs. said, the statue was looking in their direction. In the statue's eyes there was an energy person golden. Seeing the danger coming, Mr. Sung shouted loudly, "Everyone on your knees!" The sound stopped, a terrible energy was shot out from the statue's eyes, a strong flow of power went. Everything burned wherever it went, so many people couldn't escape and became a pile of ashes. Mr. Kim realized that the statue would attack anyone moving, so he stopped shouting for everyone to stop. When the statue stopped attacking, everyone began to feel better. Mr. Kim lost an arm to stabilize his spirit and heal his injuries. He was terrified, but because of the entire team, he gritted his teeth to endure. Suddenly, there was an idiot, thinking that with his speed, he could get out of here. He began to expend his energy and dashed towards the large door with a loud swoosh sound. Later, his body was dissolved to dust. Mr. Sung remembered the rule on that stele. Article 1 Worship the god. Mr. Sung advised everyone to kneel in front of the statue. Everyone thought Mr. Sung was insane, but after Mr. Kim persuaded them, everyone knelt in front of the statue. After everyone knelt down, the statue stopped attacking everyone. The statue stand up, instead approaching the crowd with a devilish smile on its face. Every footstep was aimed at one of the Mr. Kim team members. While in danger, Mr. Sung remembered the number 2 thing, praise God, and after a few seconds, a person standing should say nothing but praise the Supreme God. But it's a shame that his words of praise are biblical rather than those of a monster in front of him. Boom, a sound, he was trampled by the statue. Realizing the difference in the group of stone statues, Mr. Sung told everyone to run back to where the statues holding musical instruments were, and just as Mr. Sung predicted, the music holding statues began to play, and the Lord began to slow down his steps. Despite reaching the safe area of the temple, Mr. Sung lost a leg, and Mrs. Junhee used his healing power to heal and stop the bleeding for Mr. Sung. She fainted as a result of expending too much energy. Everyone in the group was concerned about Mrs. Junhee's health because she was the only one in the group with healing abilities. Mr. Kim was desperate in his decision to enter this dungeon because there were only 6 people alive, 2 of whom were seriously injured. Suddenly, the Lord placed his hand on the shaped rocks, which fell in turn, and everyone was surprised as to what would happen next. Mr. Sung explained to everyone that this was the altar, where believers frequently sacrifice people, animals onto the gods. People are often cowardly in the face of death, so Mr. Kim shifted all blame to Mr. Song and asked him to be the sacrifice. Mr. Song chose to go to the inter department because he was frustrated with his mistakes. But, strangely, nothing bad happened to him. Instead, a red flame appeared, and Mr. Sung told everyone to move towards the altar, where the flames were green and red, began to erupt when they set foot on the altar. The dungeon door unexpectedly opened after everyone had entered the altar and the blue and red flames appeared. The blue flames gradually faded, while the stone statues began to move towards the altar. A girl who saw the statues approaching her was terrified. She did screaming and ran towards the door, where she miraculously escaped safely. A red flame also faded. A fat boy rushed towards the dungeon door, seeing a chance to survive. Mr. Kim began to tell everyone his thoughts at this time, thinking that Mr. Kim would stay with him. Everyone made it to the end, but Mr. Kim's cowardice drove those who didn't to the brink of despair. Only Mr. Song stood up in the end to make room for Mr. Sung and Mrs. Junhee to leave. But because Junhee had expended too much energy, he was unable to move, so Mr. Sung decided to stay and be judged. Mr. Sung was disappointed in his teammates after everyone had left. They abandoned him in such a dangerous place. Mr. Sung finally took the sword and turned to face the approaching stone statues. Mr. Sung's body was like a cloth that flew back and forth in the air as the stone statues attacked. At the last second, he saw a line stating that he had completed the quest Courage of the Weak. Mr. Sung's life began to change at that point. He became the hero of the entire world after that day.